13 in the pool.
They're all the way up to 13. Well, good for them.
Notre Dame might be in trouble this weekend.
Without
Ian Book's not playing, and
Book's
they're
not
talking
playing.
about bringing out the senior greens.
yeah,
That not been good for them.
yeah.
I just got a notification about Dennis Valley live stream.
Are we ready?
Ready as we've ever been.
Here we go.
Welcome back to GV Talk Sports. You might notice it is a little different today. The students are not in school today, so we grabbed a couple sports enthusiasts with us. We have Sean Clancy and Tyler Landrys, who have joined us today. I'm Mr. Dutt, and Mr. Horton is here as well. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's good to have you.
Well, thanks. Happy to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Tyler is, we've been asking the boys lately how the basketball teams, how the season's going to go this year, and you're an assistant, correct, for the
Yes.
varsity boys?
Yep.
Give us your thoughts. What are we going to see this year?
We're going to see quite a bit of what you saw last year. I mean, a great core of our returning players are coming back. We're going to be led by some senior leaders, Josh. We got Nick Baker. Then we got some younger guys still, Cody, Evan. I mean, the whole crew's basically coming back. So we're going to be taller than most teams. We still have speed. It's going to be an exciting year.
You got to replace Noah Windus. You're replacing what, about 18 points a game, 20 points a game?
Yep, yeah, we'll miss Noah. He makes some tough baskets, and I mean, if you never really watched Genesee Valley play basketball in the previous years, you wouldn't have known that Noah would be that guy that makes the baskets because he does it quietly. I can remember games last year where it didn't look like Noah had his best game, but at the end of the game, you'd say, "Wow, he ended up with 22 points."
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of
We
boards.
used to talk
So-
about that. It'd be
Right.
like, wow, Windus wound up with, wow, he had 20 points?
Right.
I don't remember it.
Right. I mean, I remember standing up next to you up on the track a couple times watching, and kind of a silent assassin kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was real quiet, but he was always close to 20 or a little bit above.
Yeah. The king, Noah, if you're listening, shout out. The king of the 5 to 10 foot jumper.
Pull up jumper.
Yeah.
Tough to
That was
stop.
made his money that way.
And if you are listening, we missed you this morning for Friday morning basketball. But and then we'll move over to Sean. Sean's the swimming coach at Genesee Valley. What are you looking for this year, Sean?
Well, it's a new adventure for me. I swam in high school and excited to get back in the pool. Had a pretty easy first week, but we're starting to rev up the yardage. We've got a good team. Small numbers. First year, I think we're going not combined with another school, so we're excited about that. We have about 12 on the varsity team, and we're pulling about 5 on the modified. So it'll be good. We got a couple seniors. We got a new addition to the team that came out as a senior, and Jaden Trippy, who has done really well so far. Then you got Ethan Watson, who looking to try to get him to states in the breaststroke. Diana Coble is also a senior for us, who should do pretty well. So we've got a young group coming up through. We got the Aqua Jags, the club group that swims here. They do an amazing job and a really great feeder program for us. We're just looking for a diver, so if anybody else there wants to be a diver, come and join us, please.
You got any swimming eligibility left, Ty?
No, I passed my test my junior year, so I opted out of swimming.
Outside swimming, you haven't been in the pool since.
I just go back to the Aqua Jags. It's amazing around the county itself, the participation.
Oh, sure.
I run into people, I'm sure you guys do too, all the time. Oh, I was at Genesee Valley last night. Why? Oh, my kid swims Aqua Jags.
Aqua Jags, yeah.
That's been quite a feeder program for the swim.
oh,
A lot of swim
no.
teams.
A lot of swim teams. Yeah, I mean, Wellsville sends a ton of kids.
They do.
Yep. Yeah, there's a good combination between Wellsville and Gen Valley here with the kids, and I think we've had the Cuba kids come down too. I think that's why we had that general connection with Cuba when we combined the last few years. And I mean, there was even talk about maybe going with Wellsville this year, but we decided to keep it separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
While we're on the same topic, Mr. Dutt, as the girls varsity basketball coach, I don't know if you've talked about it yet. How do you see this year coming?
It's going to be a different kind of style. I think we're bigger, like you guys. We're a little bigger than we've been in the past. I jokingly say that we could put out a lineup that goes 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", 6 foot, 6 foot. For Class D girls is pretty big. That's a pretty good sized team. We don't have the dynamic guards that we've had in the past, but I think the guards that we do have are steady. We don't have the speed of a Kara Landry's, but I've been very impressed with Maddie Herdman so far in practice. She's come in, her positive attitude has been super helpful for us, and I'm looking forward to that kind of leadership, that kind of this is now her team, that kind of thing where the seniors have to step up and take over. We had Hal and Kara there for 3 years, and so now I think we're in that feeling out process as to who's going to step forward, who's going to be the person, because for 3 years they could just, you knew Hal and Kara were going to take charge, and now it's who's going to be that leader? Are Mac and Bailey going to step up and be those leaders? Or, so got 5 seniors. They know the system, so it's they've played for me. I was talking to a couple juniors the other day after practice, and I said, you're going to get it. You're going to figure out where we're supposed to be. And I said, you watch Mac and Bailey, you can't compare yourself to them. They've played in my system for 4 years. They know where to be all the time. And you've been in my system for 3 days. So it's kind of, you can't really make those comparisons. But, the juniors are going to help. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like. It's kind of interesting and exciting that it's really up in the air, that it's just, how are we going to do? And Mr. Horton's got the JV girls.
Yeah, I do.
So, yeah.
Well, good girls. Got 3 sophomores for now.
Yeah.
3 sophomores and 5 freshmen.
Yeah.
They look good. We're having a tough time getting everybody together all at once.
Sure.
We are.
It's been a crazy
Our
week.
students are busy. Our
Yeah,
students,
very busy.
And then, we can talk about that another time. But our kids are stretched a little thin between extra.
We'll talk about it another time. I mean, we can ask the kids when they come back sometime. But what do you guys? I mean, you played in a small school. I played in a very large school. You played in both, right, Mr. Horton? You were a small school and large school, and you were kind of a medium.
Right in the middle,
Yeah.
A B school,
So, advantage, disadvantage, small school. You do have that issue. Like we had band 2 days last week.
We had an honors dinner on Monday.
Right. And so you're missing kids. That was the first week of practice, and there's some kids that practice twice
Right.
this week.
Right.
And then we had parent-teacher conferences last night, so no practice. And then
Kids don't have school today, so
no kids don't have school today, so we'll have practice after school. But
Next week, I'll be losing. I just realized this. I'll be losing 3 kids next week to the student government Albany trip.
oh, okay. I wonder if I'm
They
missing
leave-
any.
I don't know. They leave Thursday, Friday.
okay.
Wow.
They're
Right.
gone Thursday, Friday next week.
Right, and the sports banquet is Tuesday.
Correct.
So
I think it's a positive thing for the students to have that situation to be in, being from a small school. I think it's great that they still have all these different clubs and trips and things that they can participate in, because a lot of small schools in the area, and I'm certain around the country, don't have as many opportunities as we have. So it's a good position for the kids to be in. I know it's tough to do some time management stuff with sports, but I just think having all those different opportunities.
right, I mean, you can't argue with the opportunities. Yeah. How's it different than when you were going through?
Well, I think
The whole world's different.
Right. I think similar to with you, we had a lot of kids trying out for sports. We didn't
Sure.
really have that struggle to have kids playing, and a lot of the sports teams you had cuts. We're here, we don't typically have that because our numbers are so small. I mean, every year we're looking around to see, are we going to have a JV program in
Right.
most of our sports? I mean, soccer, especially the last couple of years, are we going to have to try to combine the modified into to one team to play in the boys season? And can we keep our JV programs? We haven't had a JV baseball or softball program in years.
Right.
Where that was never the problem where I come from, Hornell. You saw still a lot of people doing things because, again, we weren't a huge school, but kind of a bigger school in the area. You had kids doing drama club, kids doing whatever. So, I mean, you had to work around it, but I don't think it was as huge as we have here. But it's still great for the kids to be able to work with that pressure and communicate with their coaches and their advisors to make sure that they can get things taken care of.
I don't know.
I
It
don't know if
drives
you're
me,
waiting for me to
drives me
speak, or-
crazy as a coach, but
It drives you crazy to
Yeah.
not have kids?
well, I mean, I'm just going back to my own experience. Athletics were everything to me. I had nothing. We didn't really have anything else.
Right.
Athletics were everything. So you dedicated your life to it, and I think as a coach, you want people to have that same dedication.
Sure. I mean, I
And
went
I
to
think people are dedicated, and I'm not saying the athletes aren't
right,
dedicated to playing the sport and trying hard. I'm not saying that, but there's just so many more options.
right, and there's lots of distractions. That's true.
There is.
But at the same time, I mean, we had a little bit of that when I was in school. I missed the first 5 days of spring practices my freshman and junior years because I was on a band trip, where we were gone, and so. You did have people, but not as many, I think might be the big deal. You didn't have as many people that were doubling up in different situations.
Or you just had the numbers to cover it.
Right.
It wasn't
Or they
as-
just
it
said, hey, you want
wasn't
to go do
obvious.
band? Great. I got 37 guys trying out for the basketball team.
Yeah.
You have a good time.
You've got-
Go do band.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, you go do band, you do you, and we'll go on with our basketball program.
Speaking of Carol Andrews, we were talking this morning about the Alfred soccer.
Yeah, how they doing?
Yeah, so,
You're like coach over there, right?
yes.
Okay.
So this is my
Not
second
even like
year.
coach, you do coach.
Yeah.
This is my,
But you like coaching.
yes.
Okay.
So yeah, it was my second year as a graduate assistant. So I'm participating as a coach for the men's soccer team, and I'm also finishing up grad school at the same time. It's kind of a lucky position to be in for me.
Yeah.
So we had a good season this year. It was a big step up from last year. Our record out of conference didn't really show up. We finished 6-13. But we finished 5-2 in conference, second place for the regular season, and then ended up losing in the semifinals down in Stevens in Hoboken, New Jersey. They were the 1 seed, so they hosted the tournament.
Right.
But we dealt with a lot of adversity in the beginning of the year. A lot of kids, we just weren't meshing as a team early on. There's a lot of arguing, and kind of like through that midpoint, because we played a lot of really tough teams, Cortland, Brockport, Ithaca, St. Lawrence, RIT, all of which were ranked at least in the top 10 in our region for Division III soccer at some time this year. And we had a lot of big losses, 5-1, 8-2, 5-0. So it was tough, but I think those games, as devastating as it was at the time, it really pushed our guys to work harder, and that brought them together, because as soon as the conference game started, we weren't playing that level. We were playing kind of to the level that we should be playing at. And they started playing a lot better halfway through the season, and we just started peaking at the right time.
Isn't it amazing how athletes all of a sudden start to get along better when you start winning? Winning cures a lot of stuff.
Winning
doesn't
fixes
it?
a ton of things. Yeah. Yeah. And losing makes things get a little bit bigger.
Well, and your sister, Kara, former GV news anchor here, basketball, three-sport
Three-sport athlete. Yep.
athlete.
Sectional titleist in track and field.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The girls team, they kind of started opposite of us. They had a great start to the season out of conference, and then unfortunately in conference they had a couple of close games that didn't go their way. But they did qualify for the ECAC championships. So the only difference with that is you have to have over a 500 record to qualify for that. And then it's like a whole process of selecting teams. But they qualified. They found out on Monday, so they were kind of having a couple practices here and there, but now they're every day again. And they play this weekend down in Pennsylvania. If they win tomorrow, they'll play Sunday. And if they win Sunday, they wait until next week, and then they go play another weekend. So it's a different type of tournament setup. Usually you expect tournaments to be at least a couple days in a row, not 2 and then a whole week and then 2 more. But
Right.
It's a postseason, if I was selected to a postseason, I'd take it. No
Right,
matter
right.
what
You
anyone
want to
knows.
keep playing.
Good
Yeah.
luck to Kara.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for her.
Shout out to Zach Lyman too. You seen any of his videos?
Oh yeah, I see him on campus.
Former
all the time.
GV, techie.
He's doing them
Guy.
for Alfred?
Yeah. And if you get a chance to go on, shameless plug but yeah, Zach does a real nice job with those.
Yep. Any of like the videos you see right on the alfreduniversity.edu website, there's a lot of drone footage that he takes.
I see that.
There's a lot of pictures that he does. He takes all the pictures for their social media accounts. So he has a lot on his plate, but I bump into him and eat lunch with him every now and then, and he's enjoying it.
Good.
And it's cool
Good
to
for
see
him.
because I know that's exactly what he wanted to do
Ever since
he's
I
been
can
here.
remember.
Ever since, ever.
Ever since ever.
Right. Very cool.
Where do you want to go, Mr. Dodd? There's so much to talk about.
Well, I mean, we can talk postseason. So, the goal is always postseason, right? So, I was just thinking about football the other day, college football. You got the top four, and we were talking in the hall, Mr. Horton. Who makes the top four for the college football? Is it just the four that are there right now? Are those the four going to make it? Alabama, Clemson. Who's number three?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, and then four is
Michigan.
Michigan. Are those the four that make it?
I don't know. At this point, there's always been, every year, there's always some sort of a shakeup the last couple weeks.
Seems that way, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, you got a big showdown probably coming with, Georgia and Alabama.
Georgia, Alabama.
Does Alabama, if they lose,
Clemson,
does
Notre Dame,
Alabama
Michigan,
continue?
Georgia, Oklahoma, LSU, Washington State, West Virginia, and Ohio State are the top 10.
Right. And Ohio State would have to crush Michigan in the Big Ten championship to get in.
To jump over.
Because they lost so badly to Purdue.
Correct.
I mean, you can't lose by 39 points
No.
to a completely unranked team and be in your Final Four. Notre Dame runs the table. Are they in?
They should be.
Yes.
Clemson's going to run the table, so they're in. They don't have anybody left to play. I mean, they have
We'll beat
teams,
it
but they're not very good.
regardless.
So the big one to me comes down to who gets bumped out if Notre Dame, Michigan, Clemson all run the table and Georgia beats Alabama in the SEC final. Because somebody's going to get bumped out. 'Cause I think all four of us would agree that Alabama has put together quite the season, and
Yeah.
everybody loves Alabama or
Every
hates
year.
them.
Every year.
They're
They've
a
been in
draw.
every one.
Right. Who gets bumped out if Georgia beats Alabama in the SEC final?
I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan, even though they're playing really good right now,
Mm-hmm.
but how could you say Michigan jumps Notre Dame?
'Cause
And
Notre
knocked
Dame beat
out 'cause
Michigan.
Notre Dame beat them, and it was the first week of the season, but still a head-to-head.
Yeah.
And the country really loves the SEC, and how many
Oh, we talked about
We
that
talked
last
about
week.
that
How
last
many
week, the
years?
SEC bias.
right? How many years has there been two SEC teams in the playoff?
Quite a few.
Every one.
Yeah. Well, how long have we been doing this four-team?
This is year number 5.
Is this
I think.
is this the
Something like that.
Most
Fifth
of
one?
that, yeah.
Yeah, something like
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
What are we, 3 years in a row where Clemson and Alabama played?
That would be. This would be 3, right? Would
This
be
will
this
be
year
3
if they do it again. Alabama.
because they
Clemson
played. They
final?
played in the semifinal last year.
Oh, okay.
They had the 2 finals back to back and the semifinals last year. So this would be 4 if they met again.
Great.
Can we talk about Syracuse at number 13 again?
That's impressive.
That's pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
The guy on WGR is, praying that no one notices because he's a Syracuse alum and he's like, Syracuse football.
Well, and that could be a tough game for Notre Dame. I mean,
Syracuse
they're-
could be a tough game for
They're
Notre
they're
Dame.
not playing in Notre Dame. Notre Dame has to go away from their home. They got to go play in Yankee Stadium.
Oh, is that where they're playing him?
They
Oh,
are.
really?
Yep, it's part of their series, their Shamrock series they've been doing. So they're playing in Yankee Stadium. It's going to be that's next week.
Right.
So and then I think Notre Dame's got to travel to USC, and even though USC's not having a great season, it's still
It's always
a
USC.
tough battle.
Yeah, Notre Dame USC is always fun to watch. I don't know.
Do we need to? We don't go a show without talking about LeBron either. Sorry, Brock, if you're listening.
Brock, yeah, where are you? LeBrock.
LeBrock. We talked about Zion, LeBron.
Yeah.
No, pass. Pass.
I don't even know how you can even have that conversation. I mean, we talked Wednesday because one of our regular contributors mentioned that he didn't think that Zion was a basketball player, which just was funny. I don't. You can't compare them yet. I mean, Zion's ridiculous, but
It's too early.
you can't have that
He's hit
conversation.
One college
One college game.
College game.
Yeah, I mean, he was amazing,
Yeah.
and R.J. Barrett was just as good.
Just as good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I heard this morning was very funny. Paul Pierce last night. Did you hear that?
No. I missed
Paul
that.
Pierce said Duke could beat Cleveland.
At the moment,
I
it
mean,
might-
we're laughing, but
Without, I mean, they don't have Kevin Love right now because of injury. There might be somebody else, but
It might be close.
It might be close.
It might
I
be
usually
close.
don't say that. Because
Well, I think there's quite
Cleveland's
a few years
isn't
where-
Cleveland the team to beat in the East? Isn't that what Tristan Thompson said?
that's what he said. But I see Kyrie drop 39 last night.
Jeez.
I mean, how good were they when they had Kevin Love, LeBron, and Kyrie? How good was that team? Do we just not know how good they were?
they missed Kyrie because
Did
that's
he
somebody
get
who
injured?
can get a basket.
Right. Well, when it comes
In any
down
given
to
situation.
the meshing, you were talking about your soccer season, and you guys just didn't mesh early on, and then they started figuring out, getting along, and doing better, and getting along, and they meshed better, and they played better.
Yep.
I think you see that a lot when they try to create these super teams. Is there's only so many shots you get in a game,
Right.
and to
Only
be able
one
to
ball.
right,
Right.
and to be able to figure out your
If we're going to win, I need to get them.
who's going to get their shots, who's going to step up that game, and to have the role player. You know, if you've got 5 guys who are all stars that want to shoot and get their 30 or 40 points a game, you know, how can you do that? You can't split that to everybody.
Right.
So I think that's where you find some struggles, and a lot of those teams struggled at the beginning until they started getting that figured out. Look at Miami when they made that team; they didn't play very well early on, and everybody was freaking out about it. But then they got things figured out and how they were going to play.
You got to have people that are willing to play a role, right?
Does that make Duke even more impressive in their first game? That they have studs.
Oh,
Cam
without
Reddish
doubt.
would be a stud on anybody else's team.
Oh, without doubt.
R.J. Barrett would score 50 if he was on somebody else's team. Zion would get just monstrous dunks all the time if
Right.
he was all by himself.
Same
But they-
stuff Calipari had to go through for those years where he was
Yeah.
getting the top recruiting class. I mean, you're retooling every year. You've got 4 draft picks in the first round, and then
Right.
you got 4 freshmen coming back in. And how can you get them to mesh? And
Yeah.
Coach K is doing a good job so far.
Yeah, it looks like Schmidt is still working on that down at Bonaventure.
Yeah.
They just lost to Bucknell the other night.
Tough.
But he's
Overtime,
starting-
though.
Yeah, but he's starting 4 freshmen.
Yep.
Yeah.
It hurts
So-
that Stockard was hurt. He'll
come
be
back.
He'll be a difference maker when he comes back. 'Cause I think he'll fill that role of the go-to guy in game time situations. So last
Right.
year they had
Right,
Jay and Mobley,
Right.
and those are both tough people to fill.
Oh, sure.
But I think Stockard will be that guy to go to. You're right, they do have a great freshman class, though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, they're gonna be tough. Is he gonna be able to keep them all around? That's the
I don't worry about transfers or.
right. That's good. And you said Jay Adams, and so I'm just I was thinking of Jalen Rose. Something he said this past week, Wednesday or Thursday after the Duke rolled him. He said Zion Williamson would not have started on the Fab Five. Sorry, somebody old enough to see it. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead. Address that.
I don't know. I mean, that's the same thing.
Different game.
When you're in a situation like today, you always think that you're better than the past players. And the past players look at the current players and always say, yeah, they're nothing. They don't even know how to play the game.
You know, they always look at their highlight reels, though. They
Yeah,
don't
that's
look
it,
at
the
the whole
highlight reel.
game. Because
Because
everything they watch now, you watch the 30 for 30, it's all about the best things that happened while they were
Right.
there, or the timeout.
Right.
But, I mean, yeah, so they're always going to think that everything was.
It was pretty funny
Great.
to watch Stephen A. Smith just go nuts
Did
after
he
he
go
said
nuts?
it. He went crazy. He was like, "What are you talking about?" And Jalen Rose was like, "Well, it's about positions. What position would he take? You know, he's not going to take out Juwan Howard. He's not going to take Chris Webber's spot. He wasn't going to take my spot because I'm a better shooter." And Stephen A. Smith looks at him and goes, "Yeah, but Ricky Jackson."
Yeah, right.
At
Right.
that point, you just don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
Right, right.
Right. He's mentioning players that in his mind.
Sure. In his mind, we're obviously better. NBA players.
Yeah. No question. They're good players.
Right. Absolutely. Those other two guys.
Yeah, there was two other guys, right?
Yeah, it was Jimmy. I can't remember their names.
All right, I got it.
Ray Jackson and Jimmy something. But it was just funny to listen to. You know, it's there's an article sometimes on ESPN called "The Overreact." You know, the daily overreaction, where somebody in the NFL has a great day and say, "Oh, Hall of Famer," or Duke wins by 34, and so we say, "Undefeated national champions." Just give it to them right now.
Quiz.
Quiz
Quiz.
Weber.
Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard, Jimmy King,
Jimmy King.
Ray Jackson.
And Ray Jackson, Jimmy King. Yeah, so, Stephen A. Smith was like, there's no way you can tell me that Zion's not better than Jimmy King or Ray Jackson.
And we've got about 3.5 minutes. Do we want to talk Buffalo Bills at all?
No.
No? Do you want to?
No, I'm just
Hey,
kidding.
did you look at the rest of their schedule? They've got to probably have one of the easiest rest of their schedules coming up. They've got the Jets twice. They've got the Dolphins twice. They've got.
But they also have one of the worst quarterbacks in the history of the league.
They do.
And an abomination of an offense.
But they're not. They haven't announced their quarterback for this week. They're still saying that there's a chance. Are we excited? No, really, we don't really want Allen back in. I mean,
Right.
We're going to run with Peterman.
Could be
Whatever
Matt
happened to
Barkley?
Matt Barkley. I mean, he's not ready. It's taking him a little bit longer to read the playbook. Or
Derek Anderson's not back from
no,
concussion protocol.
He's still out.
Well, I'm pretty sure West Seneca West and West Seneca East played in New Era Field last week in a pretty good game. Either one of those quarterbacks would be happy to step in.
They'd love
They
to.
would have been happy to kind of jump over. But
Yeah.
and there that brings up the discussion about running backs. And we talked about Bell and the Steelers. I mean, do they even want him back?
Why would you want him?
If you're an NFL caliber running back, can you play for anybody that has a decent offensive line and rush for yards? Is there anything as an elite running back anymore?
Well, look
I
at
don't know.
what was it?
I mean,
Denver. For years they had that
Oh.
great zone blocking scheme with their offensive line.
Right.
No matter who they put back behind there was running for 90 yards a game.
Right.
Right.
And I think if you've got a good scheme and good blockers, they're all professionals. They know how to play the game. They've been through. If they can hit the hole, they're going to do well.
Right.
Right.
So I think
That's it.
if you've got that, then you're going to do well.
The days of let's name some elite running backs that carried teams.
Earl Campbell, Barry
Yeah,
Sanders,
Barry Sanders.
Eric Dickerson, Adrian Peterson, who's still getting it done.
Still getting it done.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I look at the Bills this year and say this Bills offensive line is not designed for Shady McCoy
No.
because you need to be able to hold somebody up for more than a split second for Shady to see the hole.
Right. You can do
It's
the
more
dance.
designed for Chris Ivory
Yeah.
because Chris is a one cut and I'm going.
Going.
And if I get 3 yards in a cloud of dust,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
It was evident last week because we were talking about earlier that Shady had 10 carries for 10 yards.
Right.
And you got Ivory, who's maybe taking 7 carries and getting 45 yards because
Right, because you
he's
just
running
go straight
downhill.
ahead.
Are the Bills tanking and they just haven't told us?
For what? For what purpose?
Yeah.
It's
well,
a process.
It's a process. Trust the process.
They're to get a quarterback.
Yeah, or
I don't think they get a quarterback in the draft.
Defensive back.
It should be offensive line.
If they go for a defensive back, that might be the enemy.
I hate to cut us down, but I think we gotta go final thoughts. We're at school today, by the way, for all of you that are.
Yeah, we actually have meetings we gotta
have
get to in a
meetings
couple
we gotta get
seconds.
to, but, final thoughts. And that's just one statement about what's going to happen this weekend.
Ooh, this weekend, I think Notre Dame's going to have a tough game. They're bringing out the green that they struggle with. They got a little curse going with that. Hopefully, they can pull it off against Florida State, who's been struggling.
Awesome.
This isn't this weekend, although the Sabres play again tomorrow. But I think the Sabres are actually going to make the playoffs.
Nice.
They
I
won
like
again
it.
last night in overtime.
Peterman throws a pick 6 if he plays, and hopefully the AU women's soccer team advances on to next week for the ECACs.
Awesome. Good luck to everybody. I'll stick with my original final thought always. The Bills signed Johnny Manziel.
There you go.
That's it. You heard it here first.
One more quick shout out for the curling crew tonight.
That's right. Yes.
That's going to find these a natural.
They were going to go out and do some curling tonight, so that'll be fun.
JV Talk Sports.
Thank you, WRAQ. We are out.
92.7. We're out.
Bye.
See you guys.